Hello everyone, my name is Holden Hardman. Thank you so much for joining me again for another video. Today, my friend Matt watches Doctor Strange. We've been going through the MCU Phase 3. We did Civil War last time, it was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to Doctor Strange. I watched this movie 4 times in theaters. Everything I like about a movie, Doctor Strange had. I don't know what that special ingredient was, but for some reason I just really resonated with him. There's a couple things I want to say, but I'm gonna wait until after the movie because I don't want to give anything away. Do you know anything about Doctor Strange or what we're about to get into?
I know absolutely nothing. I haven't even seen the character. Like in some of the previous videos that we've done, I've mentioned like, oh yeah, I saw a trailer for this one. I have never seen anything about it, but I am wondering, he's a doctor. Is there gonna be medical scenes? If so, we may have some problems.
Jenna, what about you?
I think I saw, is it Benedict Cumberbatch?
That's the one.
He's an interesting, unique actor, so I'm curious to see how this goes.
I really don't want to tell y'all anything, because this is going to be obviously an introduction to a new character. Because I remember when we watched Guardians, you were like, we'll just sort of feel it out. I think this will kind of be the same thing. They introduce a whole new element into the MCU that we haven't seen before. We'll get to that as well. Love this character. I started reading the comics after I watched this movie. I just really loved it. It's probably in my top 3. I know I keep saying that, but
yeah, your top 3 doesn't mean crap.
It's got like 10 in my top 3. This one really is. I love this movie. Obviously, there are like highs in the MCU with Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame, which we'll get to, but you know that the fans keep requesting, they want to see that. This one's a little bit more kind of down. It's not so exaggerated, but there's also still a lot at stake. We'll get into it. There are a few questions a couple of my patrons had for all of us about our journey so far. Matt, what is your favorite Bygone Jim moment so far?
I guess I'm gonna have to say the greatest teacher failure is from Star Wars.
Holden, what MCU movie was your favorite theater experience? Probably Endgame. Either Civil War or Endgame, I would say. Matt and Jenna, if you had to rewatch one of the MCU movies again, which would you watch?
I would watch Winter Soldier. Maybe I didn't absorb what I should have or could have to enjoy it as much as everyone else has.
I think I would rewatch Civil War. There was just so much back and forth and made you feel like both sides were right, but both sides were wrong. And there was just so much there. I'd probably watch it again.
Would love to know if Matt and Jenna have any predictions on what the Infinity Stones are, since we have seen a couple in the films.
You know, just like all these movies, there's probably some mystical power when they all come together to save the world all at one time. So they're probably all gonna be used for some big grand plan to save all of mankind. Did I just crush that?
Are Matt and Jenna getting into the movies, whether it's mildly invested or loving the series? Are they excited for the whole series to culminate into the movies to come?
I'm definitely more invested after Civil War. I thought that was a really good movie, and it got me more invested in some of the other Avengers that I really hadn't been invested in yet.
I'm definitely invested in this. Quite a few movies now that I'm like, I would rewatch this, and that's a big point for me, that if I say I'll rewatch it, that means a lot. And there's been a lot of lessons that I've learned. There's been a lot of Bygone Jim moments. I'm enjoying the movies without a doubt.
A question for all of you. Whose powers would you most like to have and least like to have? Probably Vision, if we're being real. Just like, he's just so freaking powerful. Either Vision or Scarlet Witch's powers. Least like to have Hawkeye.
Probably the Hulk. Yeah, you're looking at me like I'm nuts. He has the ability to become an absolute friggin' monster. People are like, oh, it's Falcon, or oh, it's Hawkeye. Like, no, Hulk is like, oh my God, he can kill us all.
Wanda would be one, and I'm also really interested in seeing Black Panther's establishment in the Avengers, because he seems like he's very powerful as well. My least that I would want to be like is Hulk, because he really can't control his powers.
Yeah, I want to take that. So now that I sit there and think about that, I want to take that back. I'd want to be Thor.
Last question. Is there any movie you've reacted to that you wish you had seen on the big screen?
I'd probably say every single one of them.
Anyone in particular that stands out?
I guess maybe to give Winter Soldier another chance, although I don't think the theater would do any difference.
Civil War for sure.
That's it. Here we go. Doctor Strange.
They got no masks.
Or I wear.
Look at these fixators.
No one could have done better.
I could have done better.
It's not useless, man. You can do this.
All right, answer me this bachelor's degree. Have you ever known any-
I'd given up on my body. I thought my mind's the only thing I have left. I should at least try to elevate that. I chose to settle for my miracle, and I came back home.
When you reattach a severed nerve, is it you who heals it back together or the body? What if I told you that your own body could be convinced to put itself back together in all sorts of ways?
You're talking about cellular regeneration.
And now, on hearing that it can be widened in ways you can't imagine, you reject the possibility.
No, I reject it because I do not believe in fairy tales about chakras or energy or the power of belief. There is no such thing as spirit. We are made of matter and nothing more. But I see through you.
Open your eyes. What mysteries lie beyond the reach of your senses? Who are you in this vast multiverse? We never lose our demons, Mordo. We only learn to live above them. We harness energy drawn from other dimensions of the multiverse to make magic.
How do I get from here to there?
How did you get to reattach severed nerves and put a human spine back together, bone by bone?
Study and practice, years of it. And you are?
Wow.
Just Wong? Like Adele? Or Aristotle? Drake? Bono? Eminem?
You cannot beat a river into submission. You have to surrender to its current.
Well, I control it by surrendering control? That doesn't make any sense.
Not everything does. Not everything has to. Silence your ego, and your power will rise. You are now inside the mirror dimension, ever present but undetected.
We do not tamper with natural law.
Mr. Doctor,
It's strange.
maybe. Who am I to judge?
Chest cavity's clear.
Blood? Just a little higher. Please be careful with the needle. I'm gonna have to vanish now.
What?
Keep me alive, will you? When I became a doctor, I swore an oath to do no harm, and I have just killed a man. I'm not doing that again.
You want to go back to the delusion that you can control anything, even death, which no one can control.
She draws power from the dark dimension to stay alive. The mirror dimension. You can't affect the real world in here. Who's laughing now, asshole?
That is hilarious.
This movie at IMAX was so amazing.
I'll bet.
Christine!
Are you kidding me?
You have such a capacity for goodness. You always excelled, but not because you craved success, but because of your fear of failure.
It's what made me a great doctor.
It's precisely what kept you from greatness. But as you well know, sometimes one must break the rules in order to serve the greater good. Death is what gives life meaning. To know your days are numbered.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
To die.
Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Come to die. What is this?
Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Dormammu, I've come to bargain.
Then you will spend eternity dying.
But everyone on Earth will live.
But you will suffer.
Pain's an old friend. Dormammu, I've come to bargain. Dormammu,
Set me free!
no, I've come to bargain.
What have you done?
I made a bargain. The warnings come after the spell.
We broke our rules just like her. The bill comes due. Best not to walk the streets wearing an infinity stone.
A what? So if you found Odin, you'd all return to Asgard promptly?
Oh yes, promptly.
Allow me to help you.
Too many sorcerers.
Just finished Doctor Strange. I know I could tell by Matt's reaction to certain scenes that he hated it. Already, I would love to get into why. Matt, what did you think about Doctor Strange?
This was absolute crap.
Matt?
Couldn't stand it.
Okay, why? You said at one point it reminded you too much of Harry Potter. I think anything outside of like grounded reality, you just can't handle.
Well, I got some reasons why I don't like it.
All right, let's get into it.
I am not gonna go through all of the medical pieces that were off. I had a big feeling that there was gonna be a lot of that. So I intentionally was like, all right, I'm gonna put that aside because I know it's coming. And sure enough, it was there. It was real bad, bro. There was a few pieces that I was like, that's good, I like that. At one point she said, this isn't medicine, this is mania. I could relate to that actually because at times, healthcare is great, and at times, healthcare turns into mania. So I really related to that, being on the healthcare side. I think they did that really well. It might not have been what they were intending, but you know me, just catching things that don't matter. I did like the part where old boy that went up to the mountaintop the first time, he was like, all I had left was my mind. And I wanted to elevate that, and it deepened my soul. Like, there's somewhere in there's a bygone Jim moment for sure. I thought that was pretty good. Old Jedi Master Girl, she said, we never lose our demons, we only learn to live above them. Primo. There was a few good bygone Jim moments in here. But at the end of the day, this just felt like a cornier Harry Potter. His character as a whole was corny, it drug on at the end. And you know what? I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that I am not in the minority that feels like this. I got a good feeling that there are other people out there that are like, yeah, you're right.
If this were the first MCU movie, I would not have been agreeable to proceed with watching the rest of it.
Oh my god.
Yes.
That being said, he really has some similarities with Tony Stark as far as being the successful genius narcissist, and then really has to rely on other aspects to kind of get him through. The spiritual aspect or other dimensions and that sort of thing, that's very interesting to me. I do agree with Matt that Cloak of Invisibility from Harry Potter was very similar. I think there were some Inception feelings to it too, but overall it was probably the most sci-fi thing I can say I remember watching. I wouldn't watch it again.
Cut him down.
Wow.
Cut him down.
All right, Matt, what else you got?
They really tried with the humor in this. They did a bad job. It wasn't good. The one part where he was calling Wong like a singer every time he saw her, like, are you Eminem? Are you Beyonce? Like, I didn't appreciate it.
I laughed, and I don't normally laugh at anything, so I will say that there was some well-timed humor.
It barely beat the Hulk. I give this a 4.
Oh my gosh.
Because of the well-timed humor, I'll give it an extra point, and I'll give it a 5.
The reason it got a 4 is because it had some bygone Jim moments. That's about it.
I do not like being on this side. This movie is a solid 8.5.
Oh my god.
Easy.
Like, what draws you to it so much that we're not getting?
I actually thought that you would have related Doctor Strange to Iron Man pretty heavily.
I did, but Iron Man is so much better and he sucks.
Incorrect. I loved seeing him go from this incredible narcissist, just like Tony Stark, to being humble and putting other people, so much so that he was willing to spend an eternity dying over and over again just so that people on Earth could live. And that he still took that oath as a doctor so seriously that I will do no harm. He was going to give up everything to protect everybody. I love that. I loved his evolution. I love the idea of, maybe it's just like these super elitist type mentality that I feel like I'm at the height of my profession. I know everything. To be humbled, to be like, you don't know, not only do you not know everything, you don't know. I respond so much more to humility than I do to arrogance. And that's something that I work on too with like my own self. I think there's also the spiritual aspect too that I'm drawn to. We've talked a little bit, very little, about religion in the My Friend Watches series. I feel like there's like this spectrum where you have the ultra spiritual, the street preachers who are so drawn from reality and what the world is actually like, and they're just so focused on their cult. And then you have the other side that's just so grounded on reality. The physical, tangible is all that there is. And kind of in that middle is where I am, where I believe in spirituality, but I'm also grounded in reality. I like when spirituality is touched on, and I like when it's not overbearing. I know that this focused a lot on spirituality just because he's Doctor Strange, but there was also an element of, this is the mirror dimension, we can do whatever, it's whatever. Oh my gosh, I'm falling in the real world, and if I hit the ground, I'm gonna die.
You know, that whole Groundhog Day bit at the very end, I just didn't care about. I've said this in the past that it bothers me when, in Superman, I know this isn't Marvel, but it bothers me when they were like, you know, you can't mess with time travel, and they mess with time travel. That bothered me. I know that they didn't set that precedent where like, you can't mess with time travel. However, it was incredibly convenient, and I didn't care about him as a character to be tortured for eternity.
They did set a precedent, though, that you do not disrupt the natural order. The Ancient One, who's supposed to be all good and supposed to be standing on this side of right, was also using the dark dimension for some of her power. At the end, Doctor Strange and even Wong violated the natural order to say, you know, for the greater good. And that's why Mordo at the end was like, what the heck? Like, no, this isn't what we do. Yeah. There will be consequences. It actually brings up a pretty interesting moral argument. I don't necessarily believe that the ends justify the means, but that's basically what the Ancient One and them were doing. They're like, well, we have to break the rules in order to save everyone, so it's justified. And we feel really good, the bad guy was defeated at the end, and Mordo is like, it doesn't work like that, there will be consequences later. The only other thing I want to praise this movie for, from a filmmaking standpoint, the visuals, top notch. I loved visually how this movie looked. I love the whole part where she's like, open your mind, and he goes, and especially seeing it all in IMAX. I saw this movie 4 times in theaters, at least twice in IMAX, and I was just blown away every time. Like, it looked so freaking great.
You're right about that spirituality piece. The simple fact that they were talking about that you can believe that you can heal your body, I know that sounds very woo-woo, I'm not saying you can do that, but to me what that says is, you don't necessarily have to have the healthcare system. There's a lot that you can do yourself. I know there's limits. I know we're human still.
Yeah, that's another thing I thought you would appreciate, because we've talked a lot about how much your mind and how much you can do and how much you can go beyond what you think you can do.
I've realized even more tonight. I knew this before, but watching this movie just further solidifies that the character development is so important for me. I have to care about the character to care about the visuals, because the visuals are awesome and all that, but I could just give a crap about this movie. I could just give a crap.
Couldn't.
I don't like this movie. I just don't care about him.
I disagree. I related a lot to him, but I can accept that that was your reasoning. I don't get it. I related to him, but I understand and can accept that you didn't.
It was hard for me to relate this movie into the MCU. Didn't seem like there was a whole lot of correlation, except at the very end where they mentioned that the necklace thing was an Infinity Stone. But to me, that was all that really. I'm sure in the future we can, pull from things that happened in this movie, but it didn't really seem like it was an MCU movie.
He's very much connected.
Well, that's unfortunate.
Matt.
Say, what did you expect from this? Like, were you thinking I was gonna like this?
I was trying not to think too much about the magic aspect, but I need to start, because you like Thor, and that's very kind of Lord of the Rings-esque, in a way. You liked Guardians, and that's kind of Star Wars-y. So I was holding out, hoping you would have liked, the things I was hoping you would like. The Bygone Jim moments, the wisdom, the character growth. Apparently none of that did it for you. I thought that Jenna would like it, I will say that. That's it, everybody. Leave this video a like if you enjoyed it. Comment down below letting us know what you think of Doctor Strange and how wrong Matt's opinion is. Consider subscribing if you want to see more fun videos like this as we go through our journey through the MCU Phase 3. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll catch you in the next video. Take care.